hold it toward us.
Well, before you do it, get where you
you can sit and get comfortable.
Yeah, get where you want to focus, where you still have
this screen. Let me get camera ready. Sorry.
Yeah, and then that way you can still, ask your questions.
All right, don't give me it. Okay, pulling up my questions. All right, awesome. So, ready? Yep. Okay. So, I wanted to say, I was saying earlier that it's always a fight. You fight fiercely to make sure that you bring awareness to this cause. And when we first met, you shared who you were, and clearly because you're such a leader, you shared who you serve. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's endometriosis?
Right.
And we began to work together because you wanted to make sure that your message was clear and all those great things, which it clearly is now. They know you. When I talk to people, even outside of our network, when I talk to them and mention you, they're like, "Oh, Michelle Johnson, the Endo lady, right?" I'm like, "Yes, the Endo lady." Look, I'm like,
I was gonna say the Endo lady. That's what,
because I've been educated by your brand. I say endometriosis.
Yes.
So people are definitely learning about it, and that's why I say congratulations, because most people that I meet do not know what that term means. Mm-hmm. Most people that I meet, when they hear of that term, they immediately because just hearing the term eotrus, endometriosis, the etriosis part makes it like, ooh, something.
Something not
good.
Right,
something not good, something that I don't want to hear about anymore. But you so gracefully, you share this message, and you look at, or I should say, what I get when I hear your brand message is that you always try to show the fight in this ugly thing. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing about your campaign, that you are annual, you are consistent, you fight feverishly to try to make sure that you share this message. And a lot of leaders don't do it, don't do it that hard. So congrats. And thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know what endometriosis is. And it's funny because since I've learned about it, I've experienced several people who have it, and I've been able to use all of the education that you've taught. When I'm interacting with them, it's made me pay attention to all the things that I know we'll talk about tonight.
That makes me happy.
Good.
That makes me happy, and that lets me know that that I am fighting for a good cause. And like you said, it can be, after you do something or you support a cause for so long, then you sometimes it goes away and you get tired. And I have to be honest, this year, and I think it's because it's grown little by little every year. This year was our 5th year.
Congrats.
With the Fighting Fiercely awareness campaign. And for some reason this year it pulls on me. The response was great, the turnout was great. And I'm reminded of when people say, enlarge my territory. I want to do more. And I prayed the prayer, and, I want to do more, and I want to reach more people. But I didn't realize that with that comes a greater responsibility and greater work and greater effort. And I was so not prepared, and there was a time where I was like, this is it. 5 years, that's a good enough run. I'm done with it. I can't do it anymore because I have been pouring out so much. But the funny thing is right after I said that, somebody inboxed me on Facebook and said, hey, we have a mutual friend, and they told me to reach out to you, and I've been having these symptoms, and it might be endometriosis, and I just want to know, can you talk to me about it?
And what was that moment like for you?
That moment was like, you can't stop.
Right.
That moment was like, it's so not about you. Mm-hmm. That was the moment that I realized this was so much bigger than me. And we'll get into it a little later, but I always tell people I did not pick this cause. It picked me. The first time anybody asked me about speaking about it, I was like, no, not going to do it. And it took me 2 years after that initial conversation to even be comfortable with starting to talk about it. And so in that moment when that young lady reached out to me and then we connected that evening and we talked on the phone, it was like, I can't give up. I have to continue to fight. That's what Fighting Fiercely is all about, because what if I had not been there and she had no one to talk to or ask questions to, and then it took me back to the place when I got my diagnosis. What about, and there was nobody there for me. So I just kind of put myself back in those shoes, and it just made me realize that this is something that is greater than me, is bigger than me, and I'm just, the vessel. And that's what I'm here, to do.
Well, awesome. Like I said, I'm just glad that you continue to share the message, and I'm expecting great things 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Awesome.
That's certainly a legacy to be proud of.
Oh, thank you.
That's a legacy to be proud of. So let's get into some questions, okay?
Awesome.
What is your mission for 2016 regarding Fighting Fiercely? I know that you shared some of the setbacks, or not necessarily the setbacks, I'll call them the setups.
Yes.
Sometimes we're faced with a situation thinking one thing only for another situation to show us, no.
Oh my God, yes.
You got to keep going.
Yes.
This is the green light, you know.
Yes.
What are those green lights for 2016?
Well, for 2016, more importantly, most of you guys that have been following me and know about the movement, you guys know that my cornerstone is educating, enlightening, and empowering. That is the foundation of what it is that I do. But more specifically for 2016, I think over the years we've done a pretty good job rallying together the women that are in this community, right? Laying a strong foundation of support for the women who have this disease. That being said, my goal for 2016 is to reach 2 communities in particular. The young girls, teenagers and preteens, girls between the ages of 11 and 18, is to educate them more, connect more. I'm looking to partner with other groups or facilities, whether it's medical or mentoring, anybody that deals with young girls and young women. And the reason for that is because most young girls start to develop symptoms of endometriosis in those preteen and teenage years, right around the time of the onset of the menstrual cycle. And because there's so much misinformation out there, a lot of girls experience symptoms, but they're told this is normal,
right?
This is all in your head, or you're exaggerating your symptoms, you just want sympathy. So I want to reach that community to let these young girls know what's considered normal and what's considered abnormal, so that if they're experiencing these diseases, they won't have to be like me and wait 20 plus years before they're diagnosed. The average time frame for endometriosis diagnosis is 8 to 13 years. So think about it, if you're 11 or 12, 8 years, you're in your 20s.
Right.
Before and you're suffering for 8 years, or till you're in your 25, or till you try to have children and you're like, I'm not getting pregnant, what's going on? And then all of the other, characteristic symptoms are ruled out. So I don't want these young girls to suffer like I did. I remember blacking out at the age of 12 in school and having my dad have to come to the school and pick me up. And I share that story in the book. But I don't want young girls to be like that, going through high school, having migraines, and bringing extra pairs of clothes because you're bleeding through your clothes and you don't want to be embarrassed or teased in high school because of that. I don't want those young girls to suffer for all those years and years like I did. So that's the community that I want to extend to in 2016, those young girls and their parents. But I also want to reach out more to men in 2016. This disease, it's so funny because it has an indirect impact on so many other people other than just the women who have this disease. And again, we talk about that in the book. We'll talk about that tonight. But it affects spouses, it affects boyfriends, it affects girlfriends, it affects your personal relationships, your social relationships. But specifically why I want to reach out to men is because, for one, endometriosis is one of the top 3 causes, if not the top cause now, of infertility. So if you're in a relationship, if you're in a marriage and you are wanting children, that's a huge thing. The other piece is that one of the hallmark characteristics of endometriosis is painful sex. Sex is huge. in any relationship, and especially for men. And so if a woman is unable to perform or to enjoy sex, men really are not connected with the why. All they see is no sex.
Right.
And so them not knowing or understanding why, they get frustrated, and that can lead to some really serious problems in relationships. I have personally worked with a couple of women whose marriages have broken up because of that factor, or whose boyfriends have left them. And in recent years, girlfriends, I had a woman reach out to me about 2 years ago, the same sex relationship. And before then, I had never even considered that demographic in my awareness. But it kind of makes sense. It's regardless of who you're in partnership with. If you're not able to be close with them or share that bond, that intimacy with them, that's a huge issue. And so my goal in reaching out to men is to, of course, educate them on what that disease is, to let them know it's not a sexual thing, it's not an STD. You can't give it or you can't catch it. There isn't anything wrong with her. She's not cheating on you. To let you know it's not you, that she is attracted to you. We are attracted to you. We want to share that intimacy with you, but it can be difficult at times. And so just kind of help them understand biologically and physically what's going on, so that they can be more compassionate and understanding and supportive of their partner, so that we can, in essence, keep marriages and relationships healthy and keep them strong and help keep them together, because this disease is so isolating already in itself. But then, to be abandoned by your own body, first of all, right? You feel betrayed and abandoned by your body. And then on top of that, there isn't anything that you could do about it. And then if you follow that with abandonment by your husband or your spouse or your mate, that causes even more isolation, even more depression, And so we want to provide as much as a strong foundation. And aside from your family, your partner is that next second in command, that next rock, And so I really feel strong about keeping, those relationships together and helping men to really understand. So that for 2016, my goal is to educate, enlighten, and empower more men, and also more teen and preteen girls and their moms, so that they know what to look for in case they may be developing symptoms of this disease.
Okay. I think that teaching young girls is real important. You were mentioning about them going from being 8 to 11 with their onset of their cycles to maybe in their 20s, some women even in their 30s, by the time they, quote unquote, get serious about their health.
Yeah.
Everyone is different, but everyone has that experience when their body starts talking to them loud and clear. Yes. When you were younger, you could, go all night. I remember we used to go out party, all those things, and then get up, go to class the next day. It was a breeze. Now it's like, I need 2 days off.
Like, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock.
We're going to turn down, etc. But for young girls, I remember I do not have endometriosis. And, excuse me, you're the first person that shared that with me.
Okay.
Now, before I met you, I would say that I've never heard of endometriosis and I don't know anybody. Okay. But after hearing the education, which has enlightened me about other women, I thought to myself, there are probably a lot of women that I've met that have it, but don't know about it. They never thought to investigate that. Yes. Or their doctors did what you shared, just told them it's just what women go through. Deal with it. It's your period. Yep. I remember my stepsister, I would come over and she'd be up in her room, like locked in the room. And when I was a child, a bratty kid, first initial reaction was like, is she really using her cycle?
Right.
As a reason not to get up. I know it was. Right. She's being extra.
Yes.
And for a child, that's what I thought. Of course, not now. But as a child, I didn't know any better, and that's what I thought. And unfortunately, that was the impression I had for any other woman that complained about menstrual issues like that. Because once again, I had never dealt with that during my cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day, as a grown woman, I think there may have been maybe 3, maybe 4 times where I was in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I really can't even attribute that to my cycle.
Right.
So compared to someone who's gone through that since they may have been 8, some girls nowadays, because of the chemicals and all those extra things that are in their foods that's making them develop faster. They're starting to get those symptoms as early as 6 or 7.
Yeah, 8
some
is
girls,
the earliest,
they're early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
8 is the earliest case that's gone on record that has been an official diagnosis.
Okay.
But whatever age you are,
And that's still so young.
that the onset of your cycle, you can begin to experience symptoms. And it's funny that you talk about the time span, was because I wasn't diagnosed until I was 33.
Wow.
But I had been suffering for, like I said, I started my cycle at 11. And within that very first year, I started to have symptoms.
Well, you definitely can't stop.
Yeah.
You definitely can't stop because, like I said, just with your goals for this year, to take on the mission, and fight fiercely to share, just the awareness.
Yeah.
Not even mentioning you share resources with sex experts, nutritionists, actual physicians who specialize in endometriosis. We have a friend who does Arvigo.
Yes, the fertility massage.
Fertility massages. Like, you have a wealth of resources that you also connect these women with. So, like I said, I'm always looking for brands that just make me go like, oh. And this is one of those brands. Some people talk about it, and then other people just deliver and really serve those people. And that's what I love about this brand. You've got the education for them and their community, plus you've got resources for them and their community. It's just a holistic approach to taking on this disease so you can fight fiercely.
Absolutely.
Like, I get it.
Absolutely.
This is the commercial.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, let's get into another question. Okay, for those of us who missed your Not the Endo Intimacy event last week, I thought that was so clever.
Yeah.
Not the Endo Intimacy.
It was a question.
What's the question?
She had symptoms, and the doctor said she had an STT.
Okay, so let me know if I'm hearing your question right. You think that you possibly have an STD, and you're considering that it may be endo. What should you do? Is that your question?
Well, I think she said she's having symptoms, and her doctor.
Her doctor said it was an STD. Right.
Was
We
she
diagnosed
diagnosed
it
with endometriosis?
No, but she said she,
Oh, she wants to know. Okay, so so has she asked to ask her? Has she been tested? Oh,
You can go back and revisit the question.
Huh? Sure, you can type.
Yes, diagnosed with endo. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so she was diagnosed with endo, and her doctor told her that it was an STD.
Yes.
Okay, is her name? Can you see her name up there? Is it like her screen name?
Know better next time.
I'm sorry, we couldn't get your name. But if you're out there and you're listening, let me reassure you that endometriosis is not an STD. It is not sexually transmitted. You cannot catch it. You cannot give it. What your doctor may be confusing it with is a condition called endometriosis. Itis, I-T-I-S, which is an inflammation of the endometrium caused by STDs, that can be caused by STDs, but those are two different things. So I would encourage you to do two things. Revisit with your doctor and get clarification on exactly what you've been diagnosed with. Endometriosis, O-S-I-S, is not an STD or related to STDs. Endometriosis, I-T-I-S, that suffix, itis, means swelling or inflammation. Endometriosis can be caused by sexually transmitted diseases. So I would encourage you to get clarification from your doctor on what it is exactly that he's diagnosed you with. Because if he has told you endometriosis, that is not an STD, and endometriosis cannot be diagnosed by cultures or scopes or pap smears. The only way to diagnose endometriosis is through a procedure called the laparoscopy. It's a surgical procedure. So it's no swabs, it's no cultures. So if anything of that nature was done with you, it's not likely endometriosis, but probably endometriitis. So I would have her to double check with her doctor. So hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully
Alicia.
Alicia. So hopefully that answered your question, Alicia, and gave you a little bit more clarity for you.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned from you following your brand over the years is to fight fiercely, even with your physicians.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you will need a second. I believe last month a couple of weeks ago at your event, one of the thrivers were saying that she had to fight several doctors, like 4 or 5 doctors.
Yeah, and that is often the case. Unfortunately, still in 2016, a lot of doctors are not educated properly. They're not educated properly about endometriosis. They have a lot of outdated information. They have a lot of myths and theories that has in recent years been disproven, but yet they're still unknowingly scaring people and frightening people and fear-mongering against people because they're giving them incorrect information. For example, what we just had just here.
You can understand how easily misunderstood that would be, especially for something that doesn't have awareness. You can't stop. You can't stop.
Absolutely. And also, Alicia, one of the things too I would suggest, if you have had other symptoms that is similar to what we've been discussing here, try to find you an OBGYN who is an endometriosis specialist or expert. And unfortunately, there aren't very many of them, but you can do some research and you can ask, you can look up like their profiles online and things to see if they have training with reproductive issues in endometriosis specifically, because unfortunately a lot of regular OB-GYNs, it's kind of like
informed about
in their training, it's kind of like they read a chapter. Yeah. You know, they have very basic introduction or overview, but it's not the in-depth knowledge that we need to
really make some changes in someone's life.
Exactly. In a positive way.
Right. Okay, so thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you.
Please feel free to give us any questions. We have our lovely videographer who's going to read the questions to us. This is a live Q&A. We do have an audience, but we still want to answer your questions on Periscope as well. So let us know. Make sure you can let us know if you can hear us. We want to make sure that we're heard so that we can help educate and enlighten you as well. Let's get into this next question.
Oh, yes.
So you had an event last week and it was called Not the Endo Intimacy.
Yes.
Give me 3 quick tips that a wife, that a husband may have, that a partner, let me just say that a partner may have with someone that's dealing with endo. What are 3 quick things that they can do?
Okay, 3 quick things that they can do is, number 1, change your mindset about what sex is and what intimacy is. One of the things that the experts shared at the workshop and as well as at the expo, she said that when most people think about intimacy or sex, they think about this. And we remember this from when we were little kids.
Absolutely.
And we think about taking something and putting it somewhere else, penetrating somewhere else. And so with endo, that is not always an option. So she says to change your mindset, thinking about pleasing your partner in ways that does not necessarily involve penetrating, or for that matter, orgasm. She says we think that penetration and orgasm is typically the goal, right?
Yeah.
So she talked about massage, and we hear it all the time, but what I like about it is that she said, when we think about intimacy or erogenous zones or those sweet spots, she said we usually think here and here. Just, but you have an entire body from head to toe that are full of sensory receptors and nerve endings and places
connected
to touch
those parts.
and connected to those parts. And she said, how cool would it be if you are exploring with your partner and you realize, oh my God, the inside of my hand really turns me on. I never knew that. Or the inside of my elbow or behind my ear or the back of my kneecap. Why? Because we don't explore those. We go right here and right here. Those are the only places that we go. She said, so that's the first thing, is change your mindset about what sex is and what intimacy is. The second thing is, she said that lube is your friend.
Okay.
Lubricants are your friend. And I actually experienced this personally. She said when you talk about lube to most people, especially with women, is that they get very almost defiant. And the first thing they're like, oh, I'm glad I don't need that. I don't need to use it. I'm good. I got that good. I don't need that. Okay. And she said when people say that, there are two things. There's an insinuation that women who do need it are somehow broken or not whole, or that something is wrong with them, and that I'm good, I'm okay because I don't need that. Yeah. And the interesting thing that we learned about it is that even there are women who don't need it. You know, that because there's so many other things, again, changing your mindset, so many ways that you can use that and explore with that. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. But in the case of endo women, the reason why lube is so important, and again, not just for penetration, but with all of the different medications we have that we take in our bodies, a lot of narcotics and opiates, those things can dry out our internal systems, and it can make it a little bit more difficult for women to lubricate naturally. And it also, we talked about painful penetration earlier, so lubricants also helps to make penetration a lot less painful. And so for women, that eases the cramping, it eases the pain, and it also kind of helps you last longer. So changing your mindset, lube is your friend. And also for those of you who are watching on Periscope, make sure that they're silicone or water-based.
Absolutely.
A lot of
the lubricant that's friendly to you.
Friendly to your body, especially for endo women, because our immune systems are often compromised, and we're more susceptible to like yeast infections and bacterial infections. So a lot of those, I won't name names, but I'll just say over-the-counter lubricants that you might get at a Walgreens that are like cooling sensation or warming sensation, those are not friendly for women who have endo. Those
it'll
are not
be a different kind of
good.
sensation.
Right, it'll be a different type of thing.
Yeah.
Now for the man, we learned that those warming and cooling, he can put those in his condom and then put the condom on. That's like fun for him, but not so much for us, for the ladies. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that investigate toys. And again, when we hear toys, people always think about,
I don't need a toy.
I don't need a toy. Or they automatically think that we're talking about like a vibrator.
Right.
But there
are
so many other toys. For him,
you got excited.
I did get excited. And here's why. And for those of you who watch it, I got to check like with the Facebook privacy and all of that. But I actually took pictures of certain ones that I think are safe to post. Okay. But I did get excited because I saw some and I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. And they're actually toys that double, I guess you could say, as pelvic therapy devices. And this is good for women with endo because that with so much trauma to the pelvic region, just like you can get a spasm in your calf or your arm or your neck, you can get spasms in your pelvic area. Wow. And so there's some devices that you can use internally to kind of, and this is not in a sexual way, but to kind of to massage those trigger points and get those knots out again, causing the pelvic region to relax. When it relaxes, less pain, less tension, less tightness. And so again, that makes it enjoyable. Right. But then there are other toys that kind of double as pain relievers. So are you guys, you know what if you've ever been to the chiropractor, they call it the TENS unit, the little machine, they like put the patch on you and it like pulsates to kind of give you muscle spasm. Shaquille O'Neal, my Icy Hot commercial, he's like with the TENS unit, he puts it on his back. Anyway. So when you go to a chiropractor, sometimes they have what's called a TENS unit, and they like put this patch on you, and they turn it on, and it gives like electrical pulses, and it's supposed to help muscle relaxation. Well, there are some toys in the shop that have that, and I actually used it on my pelvis, and I was like, oh, this is kind of helping relieve my pain. Wow. And so the expert was like, you can use it there, you know, you kind of place it on you to let the pulsate and kind of help your cramps. And then she was like, and then if you want to slide it on down, you know, you can do that.
I think it's important to talk about this issue. Some people, they're like, oh, that's too much. But that's how you got here. And it's something that we need to get comfortable with because as a woman, you know, I could just say it firsthand, when you have a scare with your health, it affects everything. You know, just like you said, we want to educate and enlighten the woman who has endo, but also her partner, also her children.
Yes.
In case they are, you know, afflicted with it. We want to teach them early how to fight fiercely. So that definitely goes into sexuality, especially for younger girls.
Yes.
We would think that we would want to hold this conversation with them when they become older, as older women with endo, but we need to have this conversation with young girls.
Absolutely.
To tell them that if they are having any pain during their cycle, that's not healthy. Because that is the beginning of your womanhood. And that's the beginning of your womanhood. You just tap right into it. You start the journey.
Right.
You know, we know it evolves over
course.
the years, but
biologically, that's
that's
there.
Welcome to the club.
Right.
And you start to think about sex.
Yeah.
And how awesome would it be for young girls who do have endo to know in their early 20s, in their, you know, early 30s, that they can still live a life that is normal. Yeah. They still have tons of resources, alternatives, and they can use a number of different things to help them maintain their sexy.
Yeah, and let me just say this too. A lot of women who have endometriosis, and this is part of the reason why I came up with the Fight Fiercely, because I wanted women to know, and at least in my experience, when you have so much trauma to the womb area, to the reproductive area, for a lot of women, I don't want to say their dream, but a lot of women look forward to having children and having a family. And it's one thing to say, you know, me and my husband, we talked about it, and, you know, my partner, we just decided children aren't for us. It's one thing to make that decision.
Together.
It's another thing to have that choice taken away from you or ripped away from you.
We hadn't even gotten to discuss it yet.
And right, and I can't. And I know for me, you know, when I was diagnosed, I was already at stage 4. Wow. And the entire left side
when
of
they
my,
told you
when they told me I was already at stage 4.
How many stages?
There are 4. So like cancer, it's not cancer, but there are a lot of similarities, but it is stage 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me just clarify, the staging is strictly related to the amount or the severity of the disease present.
Okay.
Not the pain. And I make that distinction because you can be stage 1 and have excruciating pain. Or you can be stage 4 and have very minimal symptoms. It varies from woman to woman. But the staging is about how much of the disease is present. And when I got diagnosed, I was already stage 4. My entire left side of my reproductive system was ruined. So I lost it. So they had to take that out. When that happened, I felt very much ruined.
Yeah.
I felt very much like I was not a woman. I felt very much not desired. I did not feel sexy. I did not feel sexual. I did not feel feminine. I did not feel that somebody was going to want me, that I would be able to make somebody happy or to
and
have a man.
And it just goes over into so many mental and emotional issues,
exactly.
which is still a part of your health.
Right, and so that's why the sex conversation is so important. It's a topic that a lot of people like to shy away from, but
you know, we're not gonna shy away from that topic.
But for those reasons, right?
Absolutely,
the conversation needs to be had, because I want women to understand that, you know, even women who have had hysterectomies, or even women who cannot have children, or who are compromised, and you talked about their children, not just so we can kind of watch the children to see if the children have symptoms, but also sometimes mommy is too tired. Mommy can't go out and play with you. Mommy can't take you to the zoo because mommy can't get off the couch because literally, or I'm sorry we're having pizza again, but mommy can't cook and daddy is working late. So we do need to have that conversation, because some women have to figure out how to frame that. To talk to their children so that the children won't think it's my fault, it's me, it's something wrong with me. You know?
Create a lifestyle that's conducive for them.
Yes.
You know, create a schedule that works for you Having, like you said, having that conversation, because I can't do X, you'll have to do Y.
Yes.
And still have, integrity and everything that you had before you said that inside.
Absolutely. So it's all related.
Cool. So we definitely, that's a lot of ways to keep spice. I'm glad we talked about that.
And so if you guys missed any of that, I'm actually partnering with the lady, the sex expert. Her name is Sarah, and she's from Early to Bed here in Chicago. She and I are actually partnering, and we're going to create a brochure with endo-friendly products, endo-friendly items, so that women who are interested, they can go to her store or order offline, and there'll be specific products to help pelvic pain and also to keep that spice going for both him and her.
Well, you can't stop. She went into sex talk, sex education,
so we can keep you sexually healthy.
Yeah,
because it's important. Even when you have endo, that's important.
It is. I think it's important, and I think it's fun.
I had a lot of fun,
and you should.
I had a lot of fun.
I think that this is the topic that you should have fun with.
Yeah.
But I think that it's also fun for women with endo, because it gives yourself a fresh way to, like you said, have that convo and talk about mindset, and then ways that you two can explore not just your sex, but also the intimacy together.
Yep.
So that's great. Other relationships. How has endo affected other relationships that you had? Your work relationship, or perhaps even friendship. Have those things changed since you discovering you had endo? And then also, my second part, since you began to fight fiercely for endo. Those are two different things.
Well, yes. God, that's a loaded question. Well, to answer the first part of the question, yes. Not just my intimate relationships or dating relationships changed, but yes, my family relationships changed, and several of my friendships, unfortunately, changed since, my diagnosis, and then in the years following that. Initially, of course, when I got my diagnosis, of course, everybody was there and they were concerned, and they were like, oh my God, what's wrong? We want you to get better. Right, and, through my surgery and my healing and my, recuperating phase, everybody, they brought me food and came and cleaned my house and braided my hair for me, did all of these things. But when it was a year later, a year and a half later, 2 years later, it became, well, you had your surgery, so you're better, right? Why aren't you better, And if you don't mind, I talked about this in my book, and I actually want to read an excerpt from that chapter that talks about that, because it gets to the point where empathy kind of turns into like resentment a little bit, and then it kind of evolves into like nonchalance, and then before you know it, the phone calls stop coming, the invitations stop coming, and then the next thing you know, you're seeing stuff on Facebook, and you're like, oh, why wasn't I invited to that? I wasn't, and it's like nobody asked me if I wanted to go, It
makes you feel.
You feel kind of crappy, because you have no control over that. It's
or like, how they responded to
or
that.
how they responded to that. It's like, I wanted to go. I'm sorry, you already bought the ticket, to go see Maxwell. I had the outfit and my hair together, but when I woke up this morning, I was bleeding all over the place, and I can't, and everybody doesn't always, understand that. I put a post up yesterday. It was an article a young lady that had written, and the title was "My Friend Dumped Me." After my diagnosis, and it was her, sharing the same thing. But I just want to read a little bit of the section in my book where I talk about that, and it's called "Where My Girls At." From the 702.
I do.
So
I do know that song.
Yes. So here we go. It says, I can still remember the confused look on my friend's face when I told her for the umpteenth time during the summer following my surgery that I would not be able to hang out because of complications with endo. But you had your surgery, right? So you're okay now, right? Sighing deeply, I tried to explain to her as best I could how the surgery didn't fix everything, and how there is not currently a cure. I tried my best to paint a picture that would illustrate for her the nature of a flare-up and how that tremendously affected my ability to physically and emotionally participate in many of the activities that we were used to doing together. When I finally finished my explanation, she just looked up, shook her head, and replied, "Damn, Shell, that's messed up." Your romantic and intimate relationships aren't the only ones that are affected when you're dealing with endometriosis. Next to your mate, the relationships with your girlfriends are some of the closest ones you can have. Sometimes they can be even closer than family. Mm-hmm. As I progressed in my external recovery, much like everyone else, my friends thought that I was just fine. When the summer hit, they were all excited for me to fall back into our routine of doing all things festivals, concerts, movies, and restaurants. I hated seeing the disappointed looks in their eyes and hearing the sullen tone of their voices week after week when I had to tell them, "Nah, girl, I won't be able to make it." Or, "I would love to go, but I'm feeling kind of weak today." Or, "Ooh, girls' night out for cocktails? I can't. It'll interfere with my meds." Or, "My favorite, an all-white party, girl, bye. Not the way I'm bleeding, child. I'm over here flowing like the Nile River." It disappointed me as much as it did them when I had to repeatedly decline their invitations. In fact, they were not the only ones anticipating my return to full swing just in time for the summer. I thought that I would be good to go by then myself. When I wasn't, I felt embarrassed, hurt, angry, and disappointed. It hurt even more when the invites became more and more scarce, or when I would find out about certain events only after the pictures had been posted on social media and I wasn't in any of them. For the most part, my friends were incredibly understanding, but sometimes they just didn't get the point. So there's just a little, piece of that. And a lot of times our girlfriends, in an effort to be relatable, mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh, girl, I know. I have a bad period too." And you want to tell them, it's like, this is not that. And although the how can I say, the most severe symptoms for a lot of women occur during the cycle or around the cycle, but for us, it's all the time, whether you're on your cycle or not. It could be at any time of the month, at any time. And I really did experience that. The phone calls stopped coming. Like I said, the invitations stopped coming. I can tell you for several Christmases and Thanksgiving after my surgery, I had people to bring me a plate because I could not get up and I could not get out, and I didn't feel like explaining again why. So I would just like turn the ringer off and just kind of go into hiding, and that that you get that seasonal depression.
Yeah, and it's that emotional battle, the battle of I don't want to bother them with what I'm dealing with.
Right.
But they don't understand
and
what I'm dealing with.
Flaking or whatever.
They don't understand what I'm dealing with.
Right. And so that's the first arc of it. So it kind of went to like supportive, and then it kind of like tapered off, and then the rebound of that to the second part of your question. Since I've been fighting fiercely, now they get it. So since I've been having the awareness expos and the education, and they come out and they hear, they're like, "I knew you had it, but I never knew."
Yeah.
And having, like you talked about earlier, having the sex experts and the medical experts and the nutritionists and other survivors and other ladies come and share their story, they realize it's not just me. Mm-hmm. And so then it kind of comes full circle, and it's like, "Girl, I didn't know." It's like, I didn't know.
Yeah, I told you I did not know.
What can I do? How can I help? How can I be more supportive? So the fighting fiercely has helped to mend a lot of those friendships, and so it's come full circle.
Good.
Now, and I'm happy because when you're in that place, because again, I said it's so isolating. You mm-hmm. feel so alone.
Yeah.
And if your girlfriends, the girls don't get it, if they don't understand, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And then, like you said in the book, "Dang, Shell, that's messed up." That's
so
like
what else can you say?
Nothing. Don't you hate when you're talking to your friend about something and
right.
you just that's messed up. I know it's messed up.
Yeah, I'm telling you about it. Right. And it's like you can't talk to your man about it. You can't talk to your girlfriends about it.
And just
You know.
without enlightenment, without being educated about something, you're just that, you're ignorant of it, you know.
Yeah.
And for someone that is dealing with it and they're ignorant to it, some people don't even know
Yeah.
that they have endometriosis. They don't even know that they're dealing with something that they need to fight fiercely with, fight fiercely for.
Yeah.
They're thinking that they've got the bad end of the stick,
Yeah.
or got dealt a bad set of cards when it comes to their womanhood.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? And then they have a partner who's not understanding, because you're not understanding what's going on with your body.
Right.
And then your girls
Exactly.
are starting to fade away slowly but surely, because once again they don't understand. So like I said, I just think the dynamics of this brand is just is so powerful, because you're really empowering the woman with endo, but also her community to help her. And you can't stop. Every single point we make tonight, I'm going to keep saying you can't stop. You have to keep bringing the awareness to the forefront.
Yeah.
Because I was that friend that after I heard you speak publicly the first time, I had to make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, girl, I'm so sorry. I don't
Yeah.
know if you got endo. Now she's like, what? What's endometriosis? I'm like, I don't know if you got it. I'm not saying you got it. I'm just saying,
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
for dismissing your pain.
Yeah.
Because I didn't deal with that.
Yeah. And with your girlfriends, it's that thing. Well, I get a period too. What is the big deal?
You just
You
don't
know. And they just don't know.
They don't know.
They just
So
don't know.
you're that bond that you're talking about. I think that's like the common thread with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because even that woman with endo, whether she has a partner or not,
She still has friends.
she still has
Got
friends.
girlfriends.
But even more, she's got herself.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the intimacy and having sex with a partner, that self-love, loving on yourself, making sure that you're taking time to learn about
Absolutely.
being intimate just with yourself,
Absolutely.
mind, body, and soul.
Yep.
So I think it's dope. I just think that it's dope. You can't
Yeah.
stop. My next question. Well, first, before I get into the question, tell me about this jewelry, because I keep seeing the black and yellow, and I'm like, I know this isn't endo jewelry.
So this is a custom piece, and I feel so bad because I don't have the lady's name, but I will be posting it on Periscope and on my Facebook page. But this is a custom piece designed by one of our vendors. She was at our expo this year. And for those of you who don't know, yellow is the national awareness color for endometriosis. It's usually a yellow ribbon. And so she put together this, isn't this gorgeous?
I feel like I'm almost at
love this
QVC.
I love this. The earrings.
It looks gorgeous.
And I was so honored. After the event was over, she gifted me with this. Sylvia is her name. And I will shout out your company, Sylvia. Please forgive me, I don't know it offhand. But Sylvia Westbrook created these. You guys look her up on social media. And I was just so honored, and it's just so gorgeous. And she put this together for me in honor of Endometriosis Awareness Month. So whenever you see me rocking this, if you see me on the street with the yellow and the black, or my yellow Fighting Fiercely Endometriosis Awareness bracelets, that's what that is. That yellow is our national color. So shout out to Sylvia. I love it. I think it's gorgeous.
It is. It's a gorgeous piece. Okay, so my next question. No, I think it's a cute piece. So you're always looking beautiful, sister.
Thank you.
You're always looking beautiful. What are some things that you have to have? Let me put it like this. What are some standards that you have when it comes to dating now?
Ooh.
I know.
Ooh.
These are so good.
Standards like.
Just standards.
Expound on that, please.
I don't know. Every woman's lifestyle is different, and it creates certain standards, certain things that she'll go for, and then things she just absolutely won't, tolerate.
Yeah.
What have been some changes from before, when you were dating, to now that I have endo and I'm fighting fiercely? These are some of the things I need you to do or not to do.
That is, I don't want to say it's difficult, but that's an interesting question because, well, for one, I'll just be honest, I haven't done a lot of dating since my diagnosis in Fighting Fiercely, because that dynamic completely it completely changes.
Okay.
And I've had some great dating experiences, and then I've had some not so great dating experiences. But well, first of all, thank you for the compliment about
Yes.
looking nice, and I say that for a reason, because one of the most backhanded compliments that get is that you don't look sick.
Yeah.
And we work hard to look good on the outside because so much chaos and ugliness is going on the inside.
And with the mental and emotional.
That's what I mean when I say on the inside, not just with our bodies, but mentally and emotionally. So much is going on. So I tell people the days that I'm probably looking the flyest is probably I'm having the worst endo day on those days, because you want to hold it together. You don't want people to, you don't want to give any inkling about what's going on. So for dating, for sure, because it's like you don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon or give him any indication that something may be awry. So for dating, for sure, and making sure your outside is definitely on point. In terms of standards, my standards are pretty much the same in terms of, what I'll accept or not accept, or, what my deal breakers are. But one thing that has changed in terms of dating, I've always been a planner, but if someone wants to take me out, I try to get as much detail or as much information ahead of time, because endo really kind of kills your spontaneity.
Okay.
It really does hinder your ability to be outside in 15 minutes. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I have to plan it for several reasons. Just in case a flare up, may happen, I have to make sure the outfit is right, the colors are right. For me personally, I have moved away from all things light colors. You'll never catch me at an all white party, an all white anything. It'll always be maybe some white accents, but because you could just randomly start bleeding at any moment. You could just flare up at any time, and that is not a good look out on Lake Michigan. And you like, on the day party, and that's just not hot. Yeah. So for me, I have to make sure the clothing, the color is right. You want to look fly, but again, you have to be comfortable, because if you start cramping during the date, if you start flaring up, you get bloated. You want to be comfortable. You want to still be kind of sexy, right? I have to find out, where we're going. Are there options for non-alcoholic drinks? That the other thing since having endo, my tolerance for alcohol is low. I mean, not that I was just drinking it up before, but
didn't say that.
but I can't really have anything beyond like a cooler or just something nice and fruity, something light. Yeah. So I have to make sure that either those options are available, or that non-alcoholic options are available. So there's a lot more planning. Yeah,
that's
involved.
I think that's a good answer.
In dating,
I think that's the best answer, because we know that other things are going to come about that we talked about just a little earlier. But now that you've taught me about it, I just want to make sure that she knows that she can still do it. She just has to probably plan a little bit more, like you're saying.
And I will say this. Also, what I've learned is I don't even disclose. I wait to even disclose that I have endometriosis. Not because I'm embarrassed or ashamed anymore. Right. There was a time when I was. But if we're just, hanging out on a casual, social kind of occasion, I kind of wait to see if we click, or, where is it going. Mm-hmm. If it looks like it's going to progress to, a more serious or exclusive relationship, then I kind of figure out how I'm going to bring up that conversation. But that was something that I learned early on, because it kind of scared people away. If you bring it up, they're like, oh, what's it? I don't want to, and I was like, I'm out of here.
Well, anything when you're meeting people. And sometimes because people are nervous, they just come right out with it.
Well, because you're like, I want for me, the first time I stumbled with it, because it's like, I want full disclosure, and I don't want to waste this person's time. I don't want him to waste my time. If this is not something that you can deal with, I need to know, and I want you to know. And I just was like, and then I was like, oh, that did not go well at all. It's like, maybe I should have pulled it back a little bit.
And that's that anxiety, but the key is just to relax.
And enjoy that. And then some guys, as you know, you go out, you have a great time with them, but you're like, it wasn't so much of a good fit. Right. You probably won't even talk to that person again. In that case, there was even no need
to share that.
You know, to share that information. But I definitely gauge, and now I wait. And I share that with my ladies as well. If this is somebody you think that you want to get serious with or move further with, so that has changed.
Okay.
I kind of observe a little bit more to figure out when is the right time to have that conversation. But it is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, especially if it's somebody that you think you may move to getting serious with.
So that's great wisdom to share.
Thanks.
And I know that you like you said, you've learned that over
Yeah.
the years. So as we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how can we get your book? Like I know that we have people here tonight that are going to get your book that are here, but for people that may be on Periscope, where can they go to order Fighting Fiercely?
Well, you guys can get it a couple of places. Well, first of all, thank you guys to everybody that chimed in doing our Periscope. Hey, my Periscope is out there, my Fierce Fighters.
LaShawna said hello.
Hey, LaShawna,
girl.
thank you for joining us. Thank
Fierce
you.
Fighters, that's so cute.
Yes,
The brand name.
my Fierce Fighters. But if you guys are interested in learning more about the book or learning more about the Fighting Fiercely cause, you guys can order the book directly from the website, www.fightingfiercely.com. We're also available on Amazon.com as well. We do have Kindle, the Kindle version available, and you can get that from Amazon. So fightingfiercely.com or Amazon.com is where you guys can pick that up.
Who should buy this book?
Who should buy this book? Well, definitely if you are a woman who has been diagnosed with endometriosis, or if you suspect, I know we had a young lady earlier with symptoms.
Wasn't sure.
If you suspect that you have endometriosis, you should buy this book. It goes into very thorough detail, but also in plain, common sense language that you can understand. It doesn't trip you up with a lot of medical terminology to help you adequately or accurately, I should say, assess whether or not you have the disease or you think you may have it and what your next step should be. If you have been diagnosed with this disease but you're unsure of what to do next, you're not sure how to find a specialist, you're not sure what treatment options you could go for. And I say that because, again, and this is not a slight against the medical community. I love my medical team. They are awesome. But a lot of doctors will just kind of offer you, again, from their textbook training, take this, try this, do that. And a lot of women, because they're the doctor,
They listen. And
they take it, even though their gut may tell them, I'm not sure about this, I don't know about this. They may just give them the first thing without being aware of what treatment options are available to you.
You actually offer a list of physicians and specialists in the book, right?
Yeah, in the book we lay out all the different treatment options. We do have, it's not a comprehensive list, it's not every endo surgeon, but we go through like a lot of the major states and major cities that have like well-known or renowned endo specialists. So if you're somebody that's, again, looking for your next step, looking for a specialist, you can find that resource list in the book. If you know someone who has this disease, a sister, a friend,